Today, I'm going to give you my top 10 dating tips if you're starting to date again in midlife. So, it could be that you've come out of a marriage, recently got divorced, you've found yourself suddenly single in midlife, and you're looking at dating again. And it's been a long time, maybe since you've been out of the dating pool, and you may be a bit rusty and you want to just get an idea of what it's like. So, I'm going to give you my tips today, 10 easy tips that I think will help you navigate where you're going in midlife dating. Now, within this dating space now, especially over the last few months, I've noticed of this midlife dating space, there's so many people that are on TikTok, on Instagram, and giving you insights, their own versions, or they are blogging, whichever it may be, about midlife dating and how they feel in it and what it looks like. And that's really great. And it can be really great that you give yourself an idea of how many people are in this, because that gives you an idea that you're not alone. And that's one thing, especially for me, that I found great on the show that I did, the TV show that I did, was that it was great to know there were so many people in the same situation as me, because I was kind of in a bubble before the TV show and in a bit of a not really going in anywhere place. And a lot of that was because the people around me, they were all married, they were in stable relationships, and they had no idea of what the dating scene was like. And their last recollection of the dating scene was when they was in their 20s, early 30s maybe. And it's changed so much. And not only has the landscape changed, it's changed because it's different doing it when you're older, because there's there's different stakes to it. There's different rules to it. You're got a lot more going on in your life. You're a lot busier. You know what you want maybe a little bit more, and you know what you don't want a lot more. So all those things change it. And there's also a lot of people in this space as well that are frightening the life out of people and saying that, this date was bad and that date was bad. And we're going to come to that later on. So I'm going to give you, I say, my idea of 10 things that will help you in midlife dating. So here goes. So number one, let go. Let go of everything that's brought you to this point. If it's a bad divorce, if you've been cheated on, if you've had a hostile relationship, you need to move forward from that. And that's an obvious thing to say, but it can be a really hard thing to do. And maybe you're in a place where you haven't been able to do that. And that's fine. Whatever it is, how you're coping with that, but get to a point where you've let it go. Let that shit go. You do not want to be starting dating for various reasons that, again, we'll get to later on, but carrying stuff in from other relationships. You need to start fresh. You need to start with a clear mind, and you need to start without burdening anyone else with those issues, really. Obviously, as you get to know someone, it's stuff that you can talk about. But initially in dating, it takes time to get to know people, and things move fast and things change quickly, and you need to protect yourself. So make sure, first of all, that whatever it is that has gone on previously, you let it go. Now, maybe it's been your choice to come out of a relationship. Maybe that's been your choice. And even with when it's your choice, you still sometimes have probably taken a lot of baggage into that relationship to get you to that point. So you need to sort of pack it up, store it away, and just think, right, that part of my life is over. That part of my life is done. There's nothing I can do to change that. These are the things I recognize that I can see in people, and I don't want those things anymore. So before you go on and date, make sure you're doing it with a clear mind of not taking anything forward with you that's going to cloud your judgment of other people, because it can. You might have seen traits in other people and then recognize them really early in dating in people that you're going to date, and it could just be that they're glimpses of things. But if your senses are heightened, sometimes we'll make more of it than it could be, and they might be red flags, but they could just be single incidents that you react to. And I think if you're able to let everything go before, you won't take that forward. And if you'll see it for what it is. If it's a big red flag, then you'll recognize it. But if it's something that you'll just go, okay, I'm not a great fan of that. If it comes up again, then I'll take more notice of it. But it could just be a one off. So my first thing that I would say is let go of everything previously that has gone on in your last relationship, because that's over and it's over for a reason. Second thing, be single. Now, that might be an odd thing to say about looking at dating, but be single before you start dating. Now, for some of you, you might have been in relationships, but without knowing it, you've actually been single for a long time. So you've got used to your own company, your own routine. Maybe you've got kids, two or three kids, maybe you've got one kid, maybe you haven't got kids. But make sure that you know yourself, because that's really important, because that becomes your base, and it runs right the way through everything that we're going to speak about. If you've got a good base, if you've got a place where you are happy already and you can go back to all of the time, everything else that happens in dating is not going to affect you as much, because you'll know you can always go back to being single, and it's not a bad place to be. If you can be happy single, you'll always be happy. Because if things don't work out in dating and you find yourself on your own for a period of time, that's great. If you find things working out with someone else, that's great as well. So you're always in a position where you can be on your own. And like I said, some of you might have just come out of a relationship, but realized, you know what? I've been single for the last 5 years anyway, because my partner's not been about. So I've been able to spend time alone. And there's certain questions you can ask yourself is, can you be alone? Are you able to have an evening alone where it's just you, maybe the kids, and you're happy, you're content, you can look forward to it, you're happy with that completely? And can you be alone without the kids? Can you sit there and just actually go, God, this is great. I'm just going to watch what I want. I'm going to go to bed when I want. And I'm going to eat what I want at what time I want. And I don't have to cook 5 different meals, and if you can already do that, you're halfway there. Ask yourself, does a free weekend on your own scare you? If it does, and you're thinking, oh God, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm dreading this weekend, then you're still not happy single yet. Get used to that. Get used to having weekends where you've got to occupy yourself, where friends aren't around, things aren't going on, and it's just going to be you. And you're going to have to sit in your own head. And can you do that? And that takes practice. And if you're not used to doing it, that's fine. Give yourself time to actually do it. And then ask yourself, have you got things in your life already? Have you got a club that you go to, it could be paddle, it could be football, netball, hockey, swimming, whatever it may be, whatever activities you do, it may be your work. Have you got substance in your life already that keep you occupied? Because that's a lot about being single that you can be happy with, is that you can be there, be on your own, and be happy. Because, like I said, that's your base camp. You can always go back to that. And it's always a great place to be where you're going to be happy. So that doesn't frighten you. Like consequences of a relationship breaking down doesn't frighten you. And that's a big thing that keeps people in unhappy relationships, is the the prospect of being alone. It can be scary because you've got to sort everything out alone. So that's my second thing. Be happy being single first. Number three, get to the best version of you that you want to be. So if you've got targets that you think, do you know what, I've let myself go a little bit over the last relationship. I got content with myself, and that was because I was unhappy. Maybe your diet wasn't great. Maybe you were drinking more than you wanted to be. Maybe you weren't getting out to exercise for different reasons. But, you know, get yourself prepared for what you want. It's, the dating market is, it's competitive. There are a lot of people out there in this dating pool. It's a huge pool. And I know there's loads of clips on socials out there of people going, dating, it's a small pool. It's like a puddle. I don't think it is. If you go on any dating app, there's loads of people out there, or, go on the socials and you'll see all these people now that are talking about their life being single, etc. And what's harder, what is small about is the amount of people that you may be looking for. That's the part that is harder. The actual pool is big, but it may be 95% of what you're not going to want. And that's fine. It's always been that way. That's never changed. Since we were dating in our 20s, you know, you've rarely found people that you really hit it off with. And that's probably why, if you got married early in your 20s, you did it because you actually found someone that suited you for that time. And you thought, I'm sticking with this because I don't think I'm getting better than this. I'm going to stick with this. And that was fine because you was in your 20s. But maybe if you're single now, you haven't realised it's the same thing again. And it may take time to find that person. So if you want to, get yourself in shape, and that could be mentally, physically, financially, whatever it may be, sort that out first. Don't go on, you don't want to be going on dates saying to people what you want to do. Go a date showing people what you are, the best version of you, no matter what they may be. So the fourth thing, get an idea of what you want. Understand what it is that you're looking for. And it's okay if you don't know. You might know precisely what you're looking for. You might want a professional guy, a professional woman, a stay at home woman, a stay at home guy, whatever that may be. Understand it is what you want. And like I said, you may not have any clue of what you want at all. And that's fine. You know, when people say to you, don't be picky, be picky. I think you should be picky. It's the rest of your life that you're going to share with someone. And remember, you know, number two, you're happy being single. So anything that's coming into your life should be a bonus. That's an added bonus because you're already happy. Something else is looking to make you happier. You're not settling anymore. You might have felt like you've done that for the last 10, 15 years, and you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to settle for people's crap anymore, or things that you're not overly happy with, because you're happy, independent, already single. But understand, it could be that you're a certain look. You think to yourself, I want this sort of person. I remember myself, on one time that I was alone one weekend, and I was looking back at my history of dating, which to be fair is quite long, and I was thinking about all the girls that I dated and thinking, what is it? And I thought, well, maybe it's someone that was small, or maybe it was a tall woman, or maybe it was someone who got really fit, or maybe, and that was all around looks, obviously. And then I realized that what a lot of these people had in common wasn't looks for me, it was traits. I found them personally attractive because I knew that for me, that was a really important thing. I needed to be sexually attracted to someone. I wanted that feeling of, wanting to rip someone's clothes off. I wanted that initially, and I wanted it to be sustained within the relationship. And obviously it changes slightly, but I still wanted that. And that might not be your thing. That's fine. Realize what is you. But then I realized that what a lot of these women had in common was the fact that there were certain traits. There were certain traits about them. They were independent, quietly confident. And that's very different from being overly confident and outwardly confident. There was a confidence about them that was self assured, and they were funny in their own way. They they were center of attention. without looking for center of attention. And there was lots of things that I realized that I really liked in a person. And what I then started to do on my dates was recognize those traits better. And that helped me identify people that I was better suited to. Didn't always last, and it doesn't always last, but it helped me identify traits in people that I was attracted to. So, it could be that you just maybe that you just want to date for a while. Maybe, you're not looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right. You're just looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right now. That old saying. Hey, that's fine. It's not a midlife crisis that you're going through. It's just your midlife. And you can be that person because you're a bloody adult now. If you want to go out and sleep around, you're sensible enough that you're going to pick the right people and you're going to, look after yourself and you're going to be able to do that if you want to, because you might have missed out that period of your life. And it's okay that if you want to do that now, and everyone throws that towards guys, especially. Oh, he's going through a midlife crisis. And as I said before, it doesn't look like he's going through a midlife crisis. It looks like he's having the time of his life. Doesn't look like a crisis to me, and that's the thing. If it doesn't feel like a crisis to you, don't worry what anyone else thinks. It's about being being true to yourself and knowing what you want. And if that's what you want for a while, then that's fine until it's not what you want. So, get an idea of what you want, and that could be personality traits, looks, relationship. You might just be looking for companionship. You might just be looking for someone to go out on a nice dinner with, you know, see once a week. You might be looking for someone that you want to see every day and spend every minute with. But understand it is what you want, because you'll be able to tell other people what you want. And if it's not for them, let them go, because people, you've got to match with people now. And you might be just looking to replace loneliness, or you might be looking to find love. And I think either one of those things is okay. I think people need to be whatever they be. And we're very quick these days to jump on an opinion that we don't agree with. It's just not our opinion, and that's fine. We need to, I think, appreciate that people have got their own opinions and let them to it. If it's good for them, it works for them, then, you do you, basically. So find what you want, what you're looking for. Think about, where are you meeting people? When you're looking to date, where are you going to meet people? If you're in a busy, very busy workplace with lots of people, and they could be people your own age or not your own age, again, do what suits you. Think about if there's people there that you've seen that you think, do you know what? I wouldn't mind having a drink with him, or she'd look quite fun to go out with. Then have an idea of where you're going to meet people. If, like me, at that time, where you're thinking, most weekends when I'm not seeing friends, and when I see friends, most of them are single, and I've kind of met all the single crowd that within our little group, and none of that is for me, and either or I'm not for them. If you're finding yourself sitting in your front room thinking, I'm not meeting anyone in my front room, then you've got to be looking to do other things of where you're going to meet people, because you need to give yourself opportunity. That's important. Opportunity is important. The opportunity to meet people. Yes, we can bump carts in supermarkets. It's unlikely sometimes, but it can happen. You know, Waiting for someone to sit next to you on a plane, if you're like me, it's never the person that you want sitting next to you in the spare seat. It's usually completely the opposite. Again, could happen, but unlikely. Odds are against it. So if you're in a position where you're not meeting people, you've got to provide opportunity for yourself, and that means getting yourself out there. And that could be using dating apps. Yes, they can be a nightmare, but they do provide you with opportunity, and they are getting better. So, guys, don't be scared of using them. Yes, there's loads of horror stories out there, and I'll get to that. that's kind of a nice thing with them as well in some ways, that it gives you experience, it gives you life, it gives you opportunities of meeting people that are good for you, terrible for you, and you want to run away from there. So there is a very simple thing that if you're scared of using these dating apps, that I would suggest you do. And I've said this many times over the years, and it's this. It's just text someone, talk to them, FaceTime them, then meet them for coffee. Okay. And this is all in a period of 2 weeks, and do things quickly. Have a couple of messages and then say, listen, let's talk. Because if you're like me, you go big on voices, you'll get a vibe for that straight away as well. And then when you can talk to them, you get to know the personality a little bit more, because it could flow easily to talk to them. And then it could stall and be awkward. So that may not be for you. After that, just say, listen, let's have a FaceTime. You don't want to waste your time getting trains, planes, automobiles, whatever it may be, to meet someone that when you look at is visually not attractive to you, and vice versa. Neither I've experienced both of those things, and neither are great for your ego, to be honest. So, get that person looking at you and you to look at that person, because then you can cut that loose if it's not for you, and they can then ghost you if it's not for them, and then meet them for a coffee. If you meet someone for a coffee, it's not a date, it's a meeting. Okay. It's easy. We can meet anyone for a coffee. So just say, listen, let's meet up and have a coffee. A coffee is 20 minutes, half hour, tops. If it goes further, great. If not, and you meet someone, you've met another person in your life, you're one step closer, one person closer to meeting the person that may be for you. So just go meet them somewhere in between both of you where you can meet them for a coffee. And then what that gives you is experience of just speaking to people again. If you're newly single, you will be out of the habit of dating. And that takes the time to get used to again, because like I've said, it's different from when you was in your 20s. So get used to it. Get used to speaking to people again, meeting people again, listening to their stories again, and look at it as training for dating. That's the best way. It's a meeting, a coffee, 30 minutes. I'm going to get this guy, this girl's version of how they're finding dating. You might be able to pick up some tips from them. You might give some tips to them as well. And it could be beneficial to both of you. May not go anywhere, but it may. You might have a brilliant 2 weeks. You might have a great 2 years. It could be 2 months. And that's the way it goes. Don't expect everything to last forever, but enjoy it while it's there and just have fun with it. It's very simple. That is, just enjoy it again. So moving on to the next thing, get uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable, make mistakes, and enjoy that bit. Don't worry if you're making mistakes, that you meet the wrong guy and meet the wrong girl. It's all part of it. You know, get used to getting in positions where you are scared of thinking, I've got to walk into this restaurant, or I've got to walk into this bar. Yeah, and that's the thing with the last one. If you're walking into a restaurant and a bar, that sounds like a date. If you're just going to have a coffee with someone, that's more like a meeting. You're not going to be as nervous. So when you do go to that date bit, you're not going to be nervous. It's going to be excitement. That's what you're feeling, because you've already met this person. So now it becomes a date again. Now you're going in for drinks, you're sitting down for longer, you may be having dinner, you're eating in front of people again. And, that's longer. That's exciting. So enjoy that part of it, because that means you're alive. You're still getting your butterflies in your stomach, and it could be horrendous. Who cares? It could be a funny story to tell your friends, or, it could be that you just get used to getting rejected again, because that's not great for anyone getting rejected, but it's part of dating. It is a bit of a numbers game. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So realize that, but be happy with that, because if you're not their cup of tea, they're not going to waste your time anymore. So get comfortable making mistakes, because we're adults now. We don't have, not everyone's going to like us. And if we're happy single, it don't matter. You're going to go back to being you again and thinking, do you know what? I'm happy single. So why am I going to want to be with someone that's going to waste my time when I'm happy already? So just realize that, this is not an instant thing that you're going to find someone. It could be a long game. It may not be, but it could be. So just be prepared for that part. And on that, number 7, give yourself time. Give yourself time to be in this. This could be a long thing that you're in for, but the whole time you're single, so you're happy. So it don't matter. It doesn't matter how long it takes to meet someone. You're not that desperate to meet someone because you're happy single. So give yourself time and be you. Don't turn up to dates telling girls that, you're 6'2" before you meet them when you're 5'4". All those things that you've heard a million times already. Be you. If you like to dress a certain way, dress that way. Don't think, I better not do that because I don't want to give that impression. Give your impression. Let that person see you for whatever you are. And if you're not for them, you don't need them anyway. So let people make their choice about you and be happy with that, whether that goes for you or against you. Will it hurt your ego a little bit? Yeah. But you'll recover. You'll be fine. It's not going to matter because those things make us stronger in certain ways and you get used to it. And, you know, you'll understand that this is part of that process of just dating. So that brings me on with this of giving yourself time. you know, don't necessarily listen to people that don't know. I often found friends of mine, the best will in the world, giving me loads of advice. And I'd always think to myself, yeah, but you're married. You're already happy and you've not dated for the last 25 years. So you've got no idea what it's like. Like I've got no idea what it's like to be in a relationship for that long. So understand your market. Speak to other people that are single going through the same thing as you. Yeah, but other friends, they'll have the best will in the world and they'll want to see you happy. And that's brilliant. But they're not always the best people to get advice about dating when you're single. Maybe about people or relationships once you're in them, but not dating when you're single because it's a different animal. Number 8, be honest, be nice. That's all you can be. Other people won't be to you, granted. But if you're honest with people and nice to people, it might spread a little bit. And you will find as well that people will be thankful of that in the future. And don't take things personally. That goes back the same way. When people are honest with you, we all say, well, we want people to be honest until people are honest. So don't take things personally in dating because it's not personal. It's just people want the best for themselves. And you can't begrudge people that. If people want to be happy, you've got to let them be happy. And you should have learned that from your, relationships that you've had in the past, that we all want to be happy. You could have come out of a relationship because you wanted to be happy or people might have left you because they wanted to be happy. So, you know, realize that in dating that it's not personal. It's people just want to find what is good for them. And if people are walking away from you because you're not right for them, they're doing you a big favor. You wouldn't want someone to stay with you because they don't want to hurt you, because that could have wasted the last 10 years of your life already, one way or the other. So, shake people's hand and say thanks a lot when they are honest with you or they do ghost you and you don't hear from them, because those people have done you a favor. So don't take it personally and just be approachable. In life generally, if someone comes up and speaks to you in the supermarket, let them, have conversations like I've said before, and, just be approachable. We're in a modern age where I've seen clips of, girls going, oh, this guy come up to me and he said, I just needed to stop you and told you were beautiful. And they're offended by that. It's probably taken a load of guts for that guy to come over and give you that line. And yes, it's a line. But listen, how else is he going to speak to people? Or what did you want him to do? Send you an email, send you a text? Good grief. If you're not interested, say, thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. Have a good day. Walk off. That's fine. But just be nice and be approachable. Number 9, have fun with it. For all the downs that will come with dating, the ups and the downs, just have fun with it because it is your life and you need to enjoy it. And if we learn to enjoy the shit things, it makes it so much easier. That yes, there's going to be low times, but for as much as you can, enjoy the good and the bad and the ugly because it just helps you move forward. And like I said, it helps you not take things personally. And it should be fun. Dating should be fun. We've got to understand that, dating, we're not going to find the person straight away for the rest of our life. If you do, you've won the lottery. Look at it like a lottery. You're going to buy a ticket every week, and the chances are you're not going to win. But there's always that hope that you're going to. You'll always buy a ticket thinking, I think this is it. I think I'm going to win. And it's okay to enjoy that excitement and be slightly disappointed when it's not, but that's part of it. So understand that there is going to be ups and downs in dating, but enjoy it. Enjoy meeting people that aren't 6'2", that are 5'4". Enjoy meeting women that are, dating or speaking to 17 other guys while speaking to you, and you feel like you're competing with them. Enjoy the dates where you turn up and you pick up the bill and you never have the person again. And as bad as it seems at the time, they're the funny parts of dating that you need to enjoy. Because if you enjoy those, when you meet the person that doesn't do all those things, God, you'll recognize it straight away and you'll be so thankful that you've met them. And the last thing, number 10, always be open. Always be open because of number 2. What I mean by that is very simple, is that loads of feedback that I get from the podcast is of people going, I've had enough of dating. I'm done with it. I don't want that anymore. I'm happy being single. Brilliant. If you're happy being single, you're in the best place anyway. But still be open. You never know what the tide's going to bring. So just be open to opportunities. Don't shut yourself down, because if you close that gate or shut that door, you don't know what you're missing out on. And what's the harm in leaving it open? If you're happy single with your life, and that door's open, you never know one day who's going to walk through it that could change everything for you and make everything better than it is already. And that's the great, if you're already in a great place and you're already happy single, someone else is just going to add to it. And that's a great thing. And if no one walks through that door, you're still in the same place anyway. You've lost nothing. But in your mind, I think if you shut off that possible opportunity of being opened, it's going to make you sad in some way, because you're giving up of all those things that we may have grown up with that may or may not exist for you, but don't give up on it. Why? There's no reason for that. Just think, maybe it'll happen. Maybe it will happen. And if it don't, that's fine. But in my dying breaths, I've always left that door open in case it does. And if it's not in this life, it may be in the next. Okay, guys, so there it is. There's my 10 simple tips. And listen, I know it's not brain surgery, it's not groundbreaking, but I think they're simple things that sometimes hearing it from someone that's been through it already, and I'm in a place now where I'm going through that early relationship stage, of that excitement. So, I'm going to start podcasts soon, hopefully on that and what that looks like in, new relationships and the frustrations of those. But it took me a long, long time to get here. And also I have been in this place a lot of times before where things haven't worked. So I'm aware of that as well. So, but what I know is that it's worth it. It's worth the journey. It's worth the stories and all of those things. So, give yourself opportunity, give yourself the time and listen to these things. Guys, make sure you please subscribe and follow and like things because it really does help us with the podcast and it moves things forward. And give me your feedback as always and take care. Thank you for tuning in to 50 Shades and Grey, wherever you are in the world. And I appreciate your time and I hope this helps you. Take care, guys. See you next week.